Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This one I'm going to be experimenting and playing with some of my watercolor pencils. They come in packs of all colors and you draw with them like it's like any other pencil crayon, and they're water soluble, so then you get to play with them afterwards. Basically these are fun to draw and sketch, and you just put anything you want. They're quick. Some people like pure watercolors with the brush. Sometimes you just want to experiment and draw. So these work really well for that. Again, I'm just going to use the same methods I use in my pen drawings. I'm just making something up completely from scratch as I go. The same as with my other pen drawings. I'm just going to start with basic line drawing as I create a basic shape for my fun creature, and then I'll work into it from there. I won't be shading the same as I do with pens, as pencil crayons are a slightly different medium. You've all used them, so you totally understand. Let me just work on drawing just these small shapes. I have no preconceived as normal. I make it up. That's kind of the best way. That's the way I seem to operate with these. If I overthink it, they end up being, they'd all be the same thing because I wouldn't add any creativity in it. This is where the creativity of actual creature creation comes in. Now, I'm including just a little bit more footage in this one with a little bit less fast forward. There will be more fast forward later into it. Now I'm having a problem with my desk. It wobbles and shakes, and you don't notice it as much, but as soon as I speed up, you can see how much it's shaking. So this video almost didn't get made. I spent a bunch of time drawing this, and then I was totally not happy with the way it started shaking. So my apologies for that. You can see me just sort of thinking about what I'm trying to do here as I wave my hand around trying to come up with my next stroke. I did this drawing a couple weeks ago and I just haven't uploaded it because I just was so disappointed with how shaky it was. And I have already done certain things to try and stabilize my desk, but it's a fun drawing, so I thought I'd end up sharing with it anyway. Once you get in there and you finish up with the drawing it out, then you can just get right into it and start having fun. It's like those old books you had with the kid with that had little dots on it with all the little colors, and you just open up each page and it's paint with water. It's sort of the same idea. You get to draw it the way you want it, but lay down the color where you want it, and then afterwards get back into it with some color. I do use watercolor paper on these. Well, I use a lot of watercolor paper for a lot of my stuff just because I like the texture, and I never know if I'm going to want to color into it later. A lot of stuff I don't color into it. Sometimes I do. The danger is a lot of times the color just ends up ruining what my original concept was, but it's a fun process nonetheless. Now the other thing here is I'm going to sort of work in layers because you only need so much color. It's hard to judge sometimes how much you're going to need. So I'll go over it, I'll sketch in the colors I need, sketch in the tones, get exactly where I want it. It dries very quickly. So after you've done that, you can go back in afterwards and you can keep coloring. Color some more, add some more depth, add some more contrast. And, you know, just keep going back and forth. So you can decide in your own head what these creatures are or what they'd be called. I've been told he looks a little bit like Zero, the dog from Nightmare Before Christmas. You could call it a bird. It's obviously taken after a bird. It's taken after a ghost. It's taken after just creatures from my world. Honestly, it doesn't have to be anything specific. Now normally if you're going to be doing yellows, especially in paint, and you're going to be doing shadows, actually green would normally be the color you'd use. Greens make a great shadow color for yellow, so keep that in mind. I've used it in several of my paintings where I've painted in yellow and used green. So yeah, here I am. I go back right in and I draw in a little bit more depth and watercolor over it again. And you can do as many passes as you want, just keep in mind that it's going to get darker each time. The other problem with doing really dark watercolor like this is as you add the water, you end up picking up the pigment rather than spreading it. So sometimes that's a danger. So you got to be careful on how strong and how deep you get some of your colors, because the water will actually dissolve and you'll actually take the pigment that you've already laid down and pick it back up with the brush. I'm sure a lot of people who are used to watercolor understand how that works. It really does become an add and subtract type method. You'll see I use that method to my advantage in the eyes, where I covered them in dark and then picked up the lights. Unfortunately, it does that in all the other areas too, so the areas that you want to keep them nice and solid, you do end up picking up that pigment. Again, so much shakiness, so I apologize for that. I'm in the market to try and get a new desk altogether. I love this desk, but it does wobble, and you don't notice it wobble when you're actually drawing. I only just noticed it. I've had this desk for years, and only started noticing how much it wobbled when I was filming. And then speeding up the camera actually just intensifies. So put in the comments what you think these guys should be called. That's one thing I never really think about, is giving names to my creatures. So that can be a new game. If every time I draw one of these, feel free to start putting names in the comments. We'll just rough in some color in the background, mix it around with a little bit of water, nothing too crazy, and give us our basic look. Just fix a couple little details. I'm just going to darken in just a couple little spots here and there. Just a couple final touches. And we're good to go. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next video.